I'm just Nick, and this is the EWS Brute Drive pedal. I don't know what that was. So here's the deal about these people at EWS. They appear to understand that versatility and subtlety often really go hand in hand. This is what I would describe as a do-all distortion pedal, but one that has its own sound, and it's a sound that can work pretty well with your sound. It's not a very heavily colored distortion. It, I guess, falls into kind of the classic distortion pedal or Marshall-y sort of medium to heavy gain sounds, but it's distinguished by the fact that it's got a pretty huge range of gain, and it can kind of sound like you across that gain range. So we'll go to the low extreme here. Oh, by the way, I'm plugged into a car Rambler amp. Let me let you hear the clean sound on that first, okay? Okay, it's a clean amp with kind of a Fender blackface style amp tonality to it, and definitely all the distortion is coming from the pedal, not the amp. And the amp is a little on the bright side, just so you know. So at the low end of the gain range here, you're going to see that we still have a fair amount of crunch happening. This is not a low gain distortion pedal. It's not a clean boost, okay? But it doesn't sound that different in timbre than when we go to the very high extreme, where we get into some fuzz territory, but we still have the same basic tonality to it. Which, if you're like me, is kind of nice, because you know, you're not that into pedals that when you step on them all of a sudden you sound like a completely different guitar player. There's a time and a place for that, and a time and a place for extremes, but this is kind of pedal that gives you a range of distortions that still pretty much sound like you, and they don't radically change when you change, you know, the settings on the pedal. Similarly, the tone control is voiced very musically, and even at the extremes you're going to get good sounds. You can get some real dark and heavy stuff happening. Or you can go to the extreme on both the gain and the tone control. Settings that on many pedals might sound really horrendous, like ice pick to the ear, harsh, or just fizzy and fake, and still sounds quite musical and quite pleasing to my ear, at least. We haven't discussed an additional feature of this pedal that makes it particularly useful as a player's pedal, and that is the boost switch. The boost switch kicks in a high mid-range boost. You can adjust the amount with a trimmer inside the pedal. Right now it's set as it was from the factory for a 6 dB boost. And you're going to see that, again, it's a subtle boost, but it's exactly where you want it to make your guitar cut through on single note lines, perhaps switching from a heavier, more chordal part or rhythm part to either a single note rhythm part or a solo, without radically changing your sound. It gives you what you need to cut through, but it still maintains the basic timbre and tonality of the distortion sound you're working with. So first, without the boost. And with boost. Without the boost. With the boost. It's subtle. Let's just try one note, okay? With the boost. A little more grunt, thickness, and cut, and a tiny bit more volume. To me, that's awesome, because again, you can get more volume if you want with the internal trimmer, but you're just getting enough of a frequency boost in the upper mids to sound a little bit thicker and cut through and almost really balance your single note part, your single note distorted part with your chordal parts without radically changing the tone. And that's cool. This is a player's pedal. And if you like simplicity and you want one pedal that can really do a full range of distortions from medium to sort of very saturated and even fuzzy sounds, this is the one. Get a hold of the folks at Rock and Roll Vintage and they will hook you up. Until next time.